Paul Ndiho, VOA News. Earlier, Mr. Honorable Prime Minister, you talked about being censored whenever you talk about Zimbabwe. I was wondering if you could speak more to that, and what role can you play, you as a leader and all the other African leaders, come June 29th, when President Mugabe loses the election and takes cue from the other African leaders who have done it in the past? Thank you.
A nicely concise question.
Yes, thanks so much, Paul. As regards Zimbabwe, I've said that my concern stems from my commitment to Pan-Africanism. That I'm a Pan-Africanist, and I'm an Afro-optimist, as opposed to Afro-pessimists. That is, those who believe in the ability of the African people to develop Africa. You may wish to know that 5 days ago, following my comment in Cape Town, I was declared an enemy #1 of Zimbabwe by Mr. Mugabe. Thank God I have no intention of going to Zimbabwe when Mugabe is still there. I'm saying that gone should be the days when African leaders used to misrule their people and the rest of Africa was quiet under the guise of what was called non-interference in the internal affairs of a sovereign state. I'm thinking that AU should have been different from OAU. Because in OAU, most of the leaders were gagged, they could not speak, because there was, in the OAU Charter, a provision that you should not interfere in the internal affairs of a sovereign country. But now AU should be different. See, EU moved into Bosnia to deal with Milosevic. Now, here is a case where we are actually repeating the same thing that used to happen under OAU. In the OAU days, remember, Idi Amin Dada could kill Ugandans the way he was killing, and was still being elected as the chairman of the African Union, Organization of African Unity. That was created people like Jean Bedel Bakassa, the emperor of Central African Republic. Mobutu Sese Seko, Kungwaza Banga. The Ngwazi, Kamuzu Banda of Malawi. There was a one called Matias Nguema of Equatorial Guinea, who really actually threatened the population with extinction. So I'm saying that we should be different now, and the African leadership should be able to stand up and say that what is happening in Zimbabwe is not acceptable. It's not acceptable by any other standards. Because Mugabe has publicly said that he can only hand over power to a member of his own party. So then why are we having a rerun of elections? When the incumbent has already told the whole world that he will not hand over power. He has even threatened to use the army, the so-called the war veterans that are still there. Now, what percentage of the people of Zimbabwe were there when they were fighting against Ian Smith? More than 50% of the people don't know it. The fact that he participated in liberating the country does not give you a title for the country that you own it. It is a question of fighting for liberation of a country. Nobody has done it more than Madiba in South Africa. He was in prison for 28 years. He came out, elected president. He served only one term, 5 years, and said, let somebody else continue. Mugabe has been there since independence, about 28 years. What he did not do in those 28 years, he will not do in the next 5 years. Inflation is over 200,000%. They have introduced a $500 million bill. A loaf of bread costs $100 million. What kind of economy is that? So, and does the world want to allow Mugabe to continue for another 5 years? There are 4 million Zimbabweans living in South Africa. That is the cause of these xenophobic attacks against other people. So even South African government needs to come out strongly President Mbeki needs to come out strongly and speak against Mugabe, against impunity in Zimbabwe. Thank you.